Hundreds of thousands of laps in a swimming pool, 10 years at the top of your game, at the top of Swimming Canada's game. When do you know that it's time to say enough is enough?
That is a great question. How do you know? I don't know if there's ever an absolute point. I could swim forever and be very happy with that choice. I think at one point you have to choose to move on in your life and take on new challenges. And there's parts of swimming I absolutely love, and there's parts of swimming that I'm very tired by. And that constant pursuit of excellence, I think, is something that motivated me every day, but also broke me down year after year after year when I didn't quite reach the goals that I wanted to. I've had some time to actually look back on that, and I'm more appreciative for my many years in the national team, but I think it's hard. It's hard to continue that process every single year.
A couple of Olympic medals, Commonwealth Games championships, Pan American Games championships, 8 medals at the World Championships, more than any Canadian swimmer in history. And yet, as you look back, Ryan, do you ever feel that there's something left undone?
I'll always believe that something's left that you can accomplish. I mean, you win 1 Olympic gold medal, I think you want 5 more. And in athletics, it's a bit of a negative where you finish a result, it might be great, it might be awful, and you quickly move on to the next thing. And it's year after year that cycle continues. So I think it'll probably take about 10 years to really see my career in its entirety and appreciate all those ups and down moments, and really all of those moments. But I always wanted more. I always wanted that gold medal. I always wanted a world record. And that's probably the most difficult part of choosing to retire, is knowing that you'll never have the opportunity to do that again. I always thought there was something on the horizon. There was another chance. And kind of getting over that in my brain, I think, is hard. But I've also had so many moments that weren't about medals that I've been so appreciative for, that that's what really makes me happy about my career overall.
When you burst onto the scene in Beijing, you were heralded as the boy wonder. In many ways, the savior of Canadian swimming, because you won that medal. Curtis Meiden was a long way back. And then in Rio, you were the senior statesman, and you were supposed to be the standard bearer. Were you comfortable with those roles at their various times?
I was fortunate that Beijing, I knew what I was there to do, but before the actual race happened, no one had those expectations on me. So Randy and I, my coach, had talked about it, and we knew that's what we were there to do. I dreamed about it for 16 years, so many years of that moment in my brain. And then I kind of got those accolades afterwards, which was way better to deal with when it had already occurred. And there was expectations in Rio. I think my expectations were just as high as anybody else's. And I leave those games thinking, what happened? That was the best year of training in my life. It was so much better than it was in Beijing. And there's going to be a lot of unanswered questions, and that's an important part of sport sometimes we don't talk about. The moments that don't go the right way, that you can't find answers for, and you can talk about things over and over and over again, and sometimes it just, you don't know. And I was fortunate that I didn't reach that point a lot in my career, but it's also really frustrating that was kind of my final time in sport, of this moment of, what happened? I just don't know.
I know you came into the studio after that 1500 in Rio, and you were extremely disappointed, and you voiced that disappointment nationally to the audience back home. And yet it was a good games as a whole for Canadian swimmers. How do you put that all in perspective?
I'm lucky that I can see a games from the first day to the last day, and it's not about medals completely. As athletes, and I think as Canadians, we want to see medals. That's the entire point of putting millions of dollars into sport. That's what I was there to do. But 6 years later, I can look back on those games knowing that it was still a positive. I was very humbled to be part of such a successful team, and I wanted with all my energy to be a part of that and actually be able to stand on the podium. But the fact that almost it was normalized that all of our women started winning medals, medal after medal after medal, and I'm really thankful to have been in the stadium for that, to have watched a lot of my good friends who have worked so hard their entire careers, and really at the pinnacle of it, win that Olympic medal that they dreamed about for so long as well.
On the surface, what you do, distance swimming, looks to be excruciatingly hard work. Is it hard work, and was it worth it?
It's hard to see 20 years in the sport as all those individual moments. I do remember the days where I wanted to get out and I wanted to just quit and never come back. And I've been fortunate to talk to a lot of young swimmers across the country in the last 6 months since the games. And that's the one thing I say. You're going to have those moments that you just want to scream and leave, and it's just too hard. But everybody faces that in the real world. You know, there's going to be those days you hate it. There's going to be those days you absolutely love it and wouldn't do anything else. And I would love to have swam a shorter event that was a minute long, and it would have been probably easier, but this is what I was good at. From a young age, this is what I excelled at. Randy had pushed me into that as a coach, and I didn't want to do the event. I didn't want to do the 1500. I thought it was too hard, but I really trusted him, and I'm pretty happy I did, because it worked out well over the past decade.
You bring up the name Randy Bennett several times during the course of a conversation. Was he really that significant a person in your career? Because he could be difficult at times.
Even when Randy and I had those up and down moments, I always knew that he was probably the most significant figure in my sporting career. And as much as we disagreed, I don't think we ever disliked each other. You know, we always were focusing on that next goal. There was always that like Olympic dream that we both wanted for each other. And it was difficult this summer not having him there. We were at such a great point in our relationship working together that it was really hard to not share that moment with him, and then also share the moment of transitioning out of sport. These are the people that you relied on for so long for advice that it can be hard, obviously, without them. But I think he did everything in his power to help us be better athletes. And that wasn't necessarily to get to the Olympic podium. It could have been to get to provincials, to get to nationals. Didn't matter what it was. He was there to make you better. And I picture myself as a coach, and I'd probably be even more demanding than he was. But I think all of the athletes that were lucky enough to train under him have been very successful in and out of the pool. And as a coach, I think that's what you want.
It's metaphorical, I know, but in swimming for you, was there a high water mark? Was there something, an accomplishment that stood out?
It's a good question. Choosing one moment, I think the moments actually after the Rio Games, I didn't want to let it be the moment that everyone saw of my swimming, because there were so many years before that. But I think sharing in that moment with the rest of the team was really important to me, and I'm really thankful to have done that. But I loved singing "O Canada" as loud as I could. I'm not a great singer, but Commonwealth Games were fantastic, and representing your country at these multi-sport games and having such a strong swim team behind you, I think, is those moments that really stick in my brain. But there's also those moments that really didn't go well. This summer is a good example of my parents were just so appreciative for my career as a whole, and were really there for me when it really counted. And I think just seeing that almost makes it worth more than a medal. Knowing that there's all these people around you, and it's your significant family, but it's also people across the country that are excited just to see you go for that medal and not necessarily win it. So I think seeing that it's very, I'm very thankful to see that.
You spent a long time carrying the load for Canadian swimming, and now you move on. So what's the takeaway that perhaps you can offer to the next generation that maybe has validated your career, Ryan?
When you're a 17-year-old, you never think about what you want to see in the sport after you retire. It's not about that. It's about me. It really is. And now, after representing Canada for 12 years, it's so exciting to see that next generation of athletes that are winning medals, and it's normal. We had a World Championships in Windsor in December, and they were winning gold medals, they were breaking records, and they were just so nonchalant about it because that's what they were all there to do. And I think it's not necessarily about handing a baton to the next generation. I was excited that we overlapped slightly, but I want to see us win medals. I want to see us have that attitude. And as Canadians, we can have that killer instinct and have that expectation. A lot of other countries are able to do that, and as Canadians, it's difficult sometimes. But as a swim team, I think they have it in them, and it's very exciting to see where they're going to go in the next 10 years.